What's going on, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. The Dodgers just released their 26-man NLDS roster. We're going to give you some more keys to the Dodgers-Padres series coming up. But first, if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel for all latest Dodgers news and rumors, breakdowns all season long. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you really want to support the channel, smash that like button. And as always, I want your takes down below in the comments section. Today's Dodgers Nation question of the day. What are your thoughts on the Dodgers NLDS postseason roster? How do you feel about Kimbrel being left off? How do you feel about them going with Miguel Vargas over Hanser Alberto? I want all your takes down below, and give me one key to the Dodgers beating the Padres in the DS. Let me know down below, and for all latest Dodgers news, head over to DodgersNation.com. Dodgers assemble. The postseason has finally arrived for the Dodgers, and you can forget about those 111 regular season wins. Yes, it was historic. Yes, it was a franchise record, but it's now about those 11 postseason wins for LA. But before they could win those 11 games, we had to find out who would be on the Dodgers NLDS roster. We've been talking about this for months. We've gone through so many iterations. Who would make it? Who would be healthy enough to make it? Who will be left off? Well, now we know. The Dodgers just minutes ago released their 2022 NLDS roster, and we're going to break it all down. I'll give you my key takeaways in just a second, but first, here is the Dodgers 2022 26-man NLDS roster. And we'll start with the starters. You've got your Game 1 starter, left-handed pitcher Julio Urias, then another lefty, Clayton Kershaw, who will be going in Game 2. Then there's Tyler Anderson, another southpaw, and then Tony Gonsolin. So your four starters, Julio Urias, Clayton Kershaw, Tyler Anderson, and Tony Gonsolin. And it's definitely a lefty-heavy starting rotation for LA. You've got three southpaws with Urias, Kershaw, and Anderson, but together they've dominated the Padres this season. They've combined to make 10 starts versus San Diego, and in those starts, the Padres have never scored more than 2 runs. Together, Urias, Kershaw, and Anderson have posted a 1.5 ERA versus San Diego this season with 45 strikeouts, 218 walks, and the Padres, they're middle of the pack versus left-handed pitching. But now let's take a look at the Dodgers bullpen. You've got Yency Almonte, Brusdar Graterol, Andrew Heaney, Chris Martin, Tommy Kahnle, Dustin May, Blake Trinan, Alex Vesia, and Evan Phillips. So Craig Kimbrel doesn't make the cut. Sorry, Kimbrelsa, they let him go. But here are the position players. You've got Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, Gavin Lux, Chris Taylor, Austin Barnes, Joey Gallo, Trayce Thompson, and Miguel Vargas makes it over Hanser Alberto. So LA is stacked. That's the roster that's going to beat the Padres in the NLDS. And let's break it down a little more, starting with Miguel Vargas making it over Hanser Alberto. I said yesterday that it was clear after Doc's comments that Vargas would end up making the roster. Doc said Vargy is the hit tool. The foot speed certainly makes him a real viable possibility, and the fact that he was in the mix this late really told you that there was a real shot that he would be on it, and he is. And yes, Miggy hasn't exactly set the world on fire in his opportunities this season in the show. A 170 batting average and 50 plate appearances, just 2 extra base hits, the home run against the Cardinals, and also the double in his first at-bat against the San Francisco Giants. But they like Miggy's potential. They like his bat to ball. They clearly like the growth that he's shown in some of these sim games with some of the coaching that he's received. And yes, he doesn't give you that infield versatility that a Hanser Alberto does, but with Trayce Thompson playing the way he is, I absolutely think that Trayce Thompson should be a lock to be the starting outfielder in left. Well, Chris Taylor, if he's healthy and ready to contribute, he can give you that infield versatility that Hanser brought. Because look, Hanser Alberto, let's be honest, he served his purpose. He was a galvanizer of the group. He was the team's unofficial mascot this entire year. He brought you the switch it up. I call him the Dodgers version of DJ Khaled. You're not really sure what he does, but he just hypes everyone up. But still, Hanser Alberto is a guy that will still be in the dugout. He'll still be able to be that guy. And when you see his attitude down there, I'm sure that he's fine with it. And also, look, Miguel Vargas probably not going to have that many meaningful at-bats, but if he does get an opportunity and he does come come through, you're investing in your future. We saw Gavin Lux become the youngest Dodger to hit a postseason home run back in 2019 against the Nationals. So if Vargas is able to have a little success and momentum heading into next year, that's going to bode well for LA. The other one I want to talk about too is Chris Taylor. We just mentioned him. The fact that Chris Taylor is ready to go and they feel confident about him, that's definitely great for this team. CT3, he missed the last 5 games of the season with neck stiffness. He received a cortisone shot and continued to work his way back, and he was a full participant in the Dodgers Monday workout at Dodger Stadium. He faced Victor Gonzalez and Justin Brule in their sim game, and he looks like he's ready to go. He's had a down year, yes, compared to last season. That strikeout rate has ballooned up to 35.2%, which is the worst in the league with a minimum of 450 plate appearances. But hey, guess what? He also struggled down the stretch last season, hitting under 200 in the last 2 months of the season. He was 8 for 72 heading into that wild card game where he didn't even start before he hit the 4th postseason walk-off home run in Dodgers franchise history, and Ock Taylor was born, and he would go on to lead the Dodgers with a 1203 OPS in that postseason run. So Chris Taylor being back, you got to feel good about that. Other big takeaway, Blake Treinen. Blake Treinen, he ends up on the Dodgers postseason roster. I still predicted that he would make the roster because, look, if you have an opportunity to have a Blake Treinen, that's an 80% Blake Treinen, a 90% Blake Treinen. Even if you can't use him on back-to-backs, his arm talent, you can't leave off that roster. And he pitched in just 3 games this season. He missed almost 5 months with a tear in his right shoulder capsule, and he returned to pitch 2 games before heading back to the IL with that shoulder soreness. Only concern I have is he hasn't pitched since September 5th. You haven't seen him in these big high-leverage spots all season like we saw last year. So really throwing him into the fire when he's missed most of the season, we'll see how he performs. But based on people you talk to, he looks good out there, and the stuff is where it was at. So definitely keep your eyes on Blake Treinen early in this series. How does he look? How does the stuff look? Is he going out there and executing pitches like he was last season? Are they throwing him in high-leverage situations? Because if he can stay on the mound and he's good to go for the rest of this run, that is going to be huge for this Dodgers bullpen, because then you can use a Tommy Kahnle to be your closer in certain situations. You can mix it up and maybe have Evan Phillips get a big save. So the more high leverage arms you have, the better off you're going to be. And Blake Treinen, let's not forget, a lot of people had him slotted in to be the Dodgers closer this season. So it's definitely big to have him back. And then another big question we had down the stretch was, would Dustin May be healthy enough to make the DS roster? Because May missed the last 2 weeks of the season due to that back tightness, but he said he's feeling good. He said he's feeling confident. He pitched 3 innings in a sim game on Sunday, and Dave Roberts said that he might be held off the DS roster to continue to build him up for the NLCS, but they went with him in a reduced role. Doc said having his arm talent in this series certainly makes a lot of sense too. So they end up going with Dustin May after they considered leaving him off the NLDS roster altogether. So he'd be in a better spot for the later rounds, for the NLCS and potentially the World Series, because you have to wonder how they're going to use him in this series, because like I said a few weeks ago, he has to be a short burst guy, maybe 2, maybe 3 innings. And at this point, can you use him in back-to-back spots? I think the answer is most likely no. And when you look at the later games in this series, games 3, 4, and 5, there is no rest days like we saw in the past. Traditionally, you would have a rest day in between games 4 and 5, but that isn't the case anymore. So I think the Dodgers, they considered, hey, we'll use him in a big spot. We'll have to find a way to get the best use of him, because you're probably not going to get a lot of back-to-backs from Dustin Mania. And he definitely has had his ups and downs since returning from injury. A 4.5 ERA in 6 starts. The command has been an issue, especially on that 2-seam fastball. So the key for Dustin May is controlling the strike zone. Also, don't miss out over the plate. As long as he does that, you know how filthy he is. You know how mesmerizing he's been against Manny Machado. And I like him in a potential piggyback situation with Tony Gonsolin. When you talk about different looks, he's a guy, has that triple-digit heat, has that plus-plus fastball. And you talk about Tony Gonsolin, a guy with that split change bottom of the zone. Yes, you got both righties in that situation, but Dustin May is definitely going to have his fingerprints on this series. And I do like the fact that he was included in this roster and that they didn't leave him off. Because if you want him to play a big role for you in this postseason, you have to get him in there. You have to start the process. And I think that he's itching to get back out there on the mound. And when you look at his pure stuff, his pure raw stuff, it's the best on this team. It's just about harnessing it. But the flashes have been there. And I absolutely think it was the right decision to have Dustin May in the DS. And then there's Craig Kimbrel. So for months I've been saying, if Craig Kimbrel can't be the closer for the Dodgers, that you have to close the book on Kimbrel. I told you that, look, he's a guy that he relies on that role to have success, and he wasn't able to get it done. And yes, since they moved him off the closer's role on September 23rd, he has been better, but the walks have still been there. 5 walks in 4 2/3 innings. In his last appearance of the year, he did strike out the side for the first time all season, and I did defend Kimbrel for the first few months of the season. The reason I did that is because the numbers told you that he was due for some positive regression to the mean. The BABIP was extremely high. He was still striking out guys. The hard contact wasn't terrible, but that all changed after the All-Star break, because after the break, he wasn't striking out as many hitters, lots of loud contact, the BABIP was evening out, so the numbers just told you that Craig Kimbrel wasn't going to get it done. Early in the year, they said, hey, there's a chance. Late in the year, they said, hey, you got to move off this guy, and the Dodgers did just that. To Kimbrelsa, they let him go. He's like Jamal Adams trying to get back into Dodger Stadium. There's nothing against Craig Kimbrel, but the reality was he wasn't one of the best options available for this team. So Craig Kimbrel is left off the Dodgers roster. I did go 26 for 26 on my roster picks. Feeling pretty good about it, and I don't think it was that difficult, but I think last night was the big change, having Miguel Vargas in over Hanser Alberto. And my big takeaway here is the Dodgers, they just went with the best 26 players available. They didn't consider the youth and experience of a Craig Kimbrel or a David Price or guys like that, or a Hanser Alberto. They said, hey, who are the best guys on this team that give us the best chance to win? And they did just that. My other big takeaway, too, is, look, a month ago, we were fearing that guys like Blake Trinan and Tony Gonsolin and even Yency Almonte and all these guys, would they come back and would they be healthy enough to help this team? And it turns out that they all made the roster, even dating back to Yency Almonte and Brusdar Graterol. Tommy Kahnle, we had our doubts about for some time there. Chris Taylor, he makes it in the end. Dustin May, he makes it in the end. So yes, the blow of losing Walker Buehler was catastrophic to an extent, but still they get some big breaks here, and I think this roster is ready to roll. Everything points to a Dodgers win in the DS. Mike Clevenger, his home road ERA is definitely worse on the road. They should get to him early and often. I want to see the Dodgers pour some cold water on this Padres team that's riding this momentum. They're hot right now. No, I don't want to see it. Dodgers go out there and dominate, because losing is not an option. Failure is not an option for this Dodgers team against the Padres. You can't lose to San Diego in the DS when you won 111 games. I hope the Dodgers realize what's on the line, because really, it's not the fate of the universe. It's not a matter of life or death. It's actually more than that. You can't lose to the Padres in the DS. Beat the Padres, body slam Diego, then advance and get back to the World Series and win the whole damn thing. But let me know down below, what are your thoughts on the Dodgers NLDS roster? How do you feel about Miguel Vargas making it? I want all your takes. Give me your keys to the series. Let me know down below. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. For all latest Dodgers news and rumors all postseason long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you want to see us post even more Dodgers content, smash that like button. Also, tune in a few hours from now. We're going to be doing a pregame show, me and Mr. Clint Pasillas. Also, of course, the postgame show will be live right after the final out, so join us here on Dodgers Nation all day long, guys. The postseason is here. Let's do this. And as always, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.